So first thing you guys are going to be doing is I just want you to kind of go into a simple press stretch just to warm yourselves up and place your arms forward. Okay, so walking yourselves up, I want you to come into a seated position. And I want you to interlink your hands behind your back, and I want you to just sit up tall, stretch through the arms. Take a nice deep breath in and relax. And inhale. From there, release. I want you to take your hands, interlink them in front. Getting a nice stretch through there. I want you to round and arch your backs and drop your heads down. Deep breath in. As you exhale, come up to a seated position and take your arms overhead and get into a nice open stretch at the top. And inhale. This time, rotate your hands, pull back there. So a nice slouched round position. And exhale, rotate your hands through again and to the top. And release it through, circling your arms wide. Placing your hands onto your knees. I want you to go inhale. As you inhale, I want your chest through and try and almost lay your tummy down onto your legs. So you're working with a nice straight back, growing through the movement, getting your chest through. Deep breath in. And as you breathe out, I want you to pull back against your hands, which are on the edges of your knees. So you should feel a nice stretch between the shoulder blades, possibly along the back of the shoulders, into the neck even maybe, depending on where your tightness, where your and inhale, release through, belly button through. And exhale, release through. And coming to a seated position, you're going to be working in little circular motions, implementing two of the movements we've just used, but this time what you're going to be doing, working with your hands as resistance against your knees, you're going to rotate to the side, pull yourself forward over your legs, and when you go back, you're going to lean against your hands and rotate back. So you're going in full circles, warming up the lower back. And working through 4, and 5. When you get to the front, stop and change direction. 1, 2. So try and sort of get your chest still going through. 3. So we're opening up through the front stretch. 4. And 5. Come back up to center. From there, I want you to take yourself over to the right. You're going to place your hands down on the ground and you're going to swing over and okay, what I want you to do from there, it was passive, meaning you just had your arm relaxed over. Now what I want you to do is I want you to straighten that arm and I want you to actively push down the hip bone. If, for example, your right arm's on the ground, you're actively going to push down your hip and sitting bones on the left, and you're going to actively stretch that left arm into the air. And when you are there, you can rotate your torso slightly. So I want you to rotate and find the space that you feel the tightest, and when you find it, we're going to hold it for 30 seconds. So it's an active stretch. Okay, from there, what I want you to do is just circle that arm forward, trying to keep your chest nice and open. Circle it up and over, and down and forward. And 3, and 4. Release up. You're going to be the other side. So if your left hand was working into rotations, your left hand is going to gently melt down onto the ground. And your right arm is going to go over into a very relaxed top position, very passive. Kind of just getting your joints and your body and your muscles used to the concept of stretching through the side, used to the concept of stretching through the shoulder. Okay, from there, I want you to take a deep breath in. And as we breathe out, actively push down that right hip and stretch through that right arm if you're on the same side as me. And when we're there, once again, you can work into slight rotations and find for you where you find the most tightness in those chains of muscles. When you do find it, come into a hold at the top. Actively lengthening from your fingertips through down your hip bones, pelvis into the ground. Okay, soften through that top arm and taking it full rotations. So getting nice and tight through the top. Breathing nicely through the movement for 3. And 4, releasing to the top. There, I want you to take your left arm across the right knee, right arm across, and I want you to go into a twist. So we're just opening up thoracic rotation, opening up in the mobility in our upper backs. Things that get really tight and stiff when we spend many hours a day sitting at a computer or sitting in one posture or doing a lot of overhead work. And release across to the other side. And release. So, flicking your legs around, coming into a 4-point kneeling position. Okay. So once again, a big aim today is on sort of shoulder and upper thoracic mobility. Very passive stretches, very restorative sort of practice. Nothing too excessive, but it's all supposed to be within your comfort, within your breathing range, and at no point should you feel like you're dying. So if you are, you're trying too hard. Right, so right arm is down on the ground, left arm rotates up into the air. Nice deep breath in. And while you are doing this, you're trying to create a counter rotation. So your right arm is pushing into the ground and your left arm is pushing back. And as you breathe out, you're going into a nice passive stretch. You wrap your left arm through between your body and the ground, and you go into a rotation. And stay there for me. You can take your right arm at this point and stretch it out forward to get a nice long stretch through the right side as well. Okay, while you're here, walk your left hand a little bit further and walk your right hand a little bit further. And release. Coming up to 4-point kneeling. We are now going to repeat this to the other side. So left hand is staying down on the ground, pushing into the ground. The right arm releases up to the sky, getting into a rotation. Deep breath in, lengthening through the arm as you wrap through and under. And taking that left arm up and stretching it away. While you're there, try and walk your right arm a little bit further. Try and walk your left arm a little bit further. And release. From there, we're going to go into a half dog or a puppy stretch. So leaving your hips in the air, pushing yourself, your weight back over your hips, but walking your hands forward, trying to get your chest onto the ground. And release from there. I want you to lie down on the ground with your hands underneath your shoulders. Okay? So, hands are underneath the shoulders, your arms are sort of relaxed. We're going to be going into an engagement in the upper back and tummy. So I want you to suck your belly buttons up off the ground, so that if you imagine you had a little stream of ants, they would be able to pass underneath your stomach. And you're going to try and keep your belly button sucked into spine throughout the movement so that you never kill your army of ants. So taking a nice deep breath in for me. As we breathe out, you're going to lift the upper back and the head. But as you can see, you are not using your hands. So bellies are sucked up, engaging through the back. Arms are merely a passive movement. And inhale, release down to the ground. And 2, as we exhale, release up. And exhale down to the ground. And 3, exhale up. From there, you are going to engage your arms and you're going to push through the remainder of the way into Cobra. The same principle applies, keeping your belly button sucked up. So if you had to look at my back, when I relax my belly button, I kind of drop through my middle section. When I connect my belly button, I'm connecting up and I'm taking all of that pressure out of the very lowest joints in my lower back. And inhale, release down. And exhale up for 2. Once again, passively lifting to there. When you get to this point, stretching through. And inhale, lower down. And I would like you to do 2 more for me of that. So deep breath in. And passively coming up, lifting the upper back and chest. When you get to the limit of your back, you can continue into a Cobra. When you are there, try and relax your neck. So if you can, play around into open space. You can do a few neck rolls. And inhale down, last one. Okay, so next thing, we're going to try and maintain that position of the arch. So we are here. Fun, it's called catch and release. So I want you to be able to see my legs. So the same upper body movement is going to occur. You're going to actively lift into extension. When you get to this point, your hands will continue the remainder of the movement. But the difference is, as you inhale, you're going to keep your belly button tight and you're going to keep this arched position that you have through your body. And as you inhale, your legs are going to come up. And exhale, 2, keeping that arch. So it's almost like the reverse of a hollow rock. And inhale, keep those glutes engaged, legs come up. So we've got a nice active working back, active working glutes, hamstrings are nice and tight. Inhale and exhale, lift through. Knees down, I want you to push back into prayer pose, just to take the pressure out of the lower back for a few seconds before we go into the full catch and release. Deep breath in. As you breathe out, coming through and forward into your position again. So, keeping those principles in mind that you had before, this is just for fun, just for you to attempt. Deep breath in. As you breathe out, active extension through the upper back, arms continue. When you get to this point, you're going to work actively with your breath. You're going to inhale at the top, and as you exhale, you're going to release your hands and keep your legs in this arched position so that you rock. And catch yourself back at the top. So attempt 3 to 5 if you wish. As with the hollow rock, not maintain the arched position, you will not have momentum to rock. Good. When you get to your 5th one, you will feel that your lower backs are definitely awake and have worked slightly. You can push back into your prayer pose again, into recovery. If you want, you can do a few arches or cat curls in this position just to open out and release into that lower back. Okay, from there, I want you to come into 4-point kneeling. Okay, from there, as you in 4-point kneeling, I want you to stretch your left foot back and your right arm out. I want you to get into a nice long stretch from your tips of your toes to the tips of your fingers, lengthening through the heels, through the hands. As you breathe in, I want you to curl like a cat stretch and bring your knee to elbow. And as you breathe out, straighten through again and release down onto the ground. Opposite side, you're going to straight lengthen through your right foot, right leg, left arm, lengthening from the tips of your fingers through your heel, almost as though someone's pulling you in opposite directions. And inhale, curl into a cat curl, connecting elbow to opposite knee. Head is relaxed and passive. Straightening out through the position again. And releasing down onto the ground. Okay, repeating again on the first side. So lengthening through the left leg, lengthening through the right arm. Lengthen, 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 pull in opposite directions. Pull elbow to knee. Nice, relaxed, passive head position. Try and avoid tilting over, so stay neutral and release through and down onto the ground. The last one on this side. Opposite arm, opposite leg, all the way through. Pulling opposite elbow to opposite knee, getting a nice curl into that upper back. Release through. Stretching. Opposite arm, opposite leg, and back to neutral. From there, you're going to take your left leg and extend it back. You're then going to take your left arm and open it up to the sky. So we're here. From there, you are going, okay, so we're here. You're going to come up and you're going to release over the straight leg. So you should feel opening up into the inner thigh of the straight leg. And arm over. And release. I want you to release back onto your hands, taking the right knee, turning it in, and sitting down into pigeon pose. Take a nice deep breaths here. If you can, if your right leg's in front, working your left hip almost down and into the ground, trying to get a nice open position. Try and avoid just arching into the back and rather almost stay connected through your midsection so that you're opening through the hip and not just through the lower back. Okay, from there, you're going to walk onto your left knee, straightening your right leg out, keeping a nice straight back. You're just going to release forward into a fold. I don't want you rounding your backs and falling down onto your legs. I want a nice straight open back, and if your limit of movement is nearly that, then that is perfect. It's not about how far, it's about how deeply you feel the stretch into those hamstrings, down into the back of the calves, into the bum. Okay, from there you're going to see your right leg is going to stay out in front and you're merely going to rotate your left leg. So you're going to be in the opposite position to what you previously were. And you're going to fold over the right leg, getting into a stretch in the inner thigh. To release that over, you're going to go into pigeon pose on the opposite side. Once again, keeping connection with your lower backs, trying to work that hip down. In all this, try and sort of have actively relaxed shoulders, nice open loose necks. Push back over the leg. So we're now onto the right knee, left leg in front, nice straight backs, reaching forward and over. Almost try and lengthen and stick your bum out behind you and get your chest down forward so that you get opening up through that lower back. and release. Okay, the last thing I want you to do is you're going to be lying down on the ground. And you are going to bend both your legs, take both your arms and hold your legs behind you. Okay. From here, if you have range, to a slight extension. If you have further range, you can lift it up. And we're just going to stay here for sort of 20 seconds. You should feel nice opening up through your chests here. It should be some stretching into your quads. And slowly release down out of this position. Okay, to end off, you can end off in one of two positions. So we've just done some work into extension. I now want you to do some work into flexion. So you're going to go into a partial inversion. However, if you have any neck injuries or discomfort in this position, you're welcome to just lie down, hug your knees to your chest, and sort of either edge from side to side, or just kind of feel the weight of your body down on the neck behind you, feeling a release into that lower back. If, however, you have the space, you can continue over with your legs into a inversion position. So when you are in an inversion position, be very careful that you keep your necks neutral. So don't rotate your heads from side to side, because it puts an abnormal amount of pressure on one side of the spine. So you've got to remain in a neutral position. You can have your hands on the ground. You can have your hands lifted up, supporting your lower back. If you want, you can even have your hands interlinked. And slowly release out of that position. Coming up to a seated position. Thank you for joining me, guys. I'm not sure, I think it might not be long until we kicked off the meeting. So for those of you that feel you want to go back into some form of inversion, it would be nice to stay there for another minute. But for the purposes of this stretch sesh, we're just going to sort of take our heads into a flex position, hands relaxed behind the head, and just allowing a passive stretch through those necks.